Hello and welcome to Wellness Wednesday with Maple Tree Cancer Alliance. Whether you're newly diagnosed, undergoing treatment, or in recovery, this conversation is for you. I'm Evan, an exercise oncology instructor, and today's conversation is on effective habit building. The information in this video is for educational purposes only, and it's important to consult with your medical team for more in depth guidance and advice. As always, following our conversation, stick around for some gentle movement. We all know that habits, both good and bad, can dictate everyday actions and decisions. But did you know that around 43% of everyday actions are enacted habitually? This statistic from a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology details how much habits can dictate our everyday actions. Snacking between meals, checking your phone, drinking water, exercising, whether we do or don't do these things, it usually boils down to our habits. When it comes to any of our fitness related goals, being mindful of our habits can go a long way towards helping us get to where we want to be. Now that we know how much our habits can dictate our daily actions, I'd like to take a second to differentiate between routines and habits. We can see here that routines are usually a sequence of actions and that they're often a bit more intentional than habits. A good example of a routine would be something like the list of things that you do first thing in the morning. First, you wake up, then you check your phone, then you brush your teeth, then you take a shower, etc. Looking now at habits, these are usually a single action and they are often triggered by a cue and performed subconsciously. Some good examples here would be checking your phone periodically or grabbing a snack when you walk past the pantry. These are actions that are triggered by some sort of cue but are performed subconsciously with not much thought to the decision. I think that it's also important to discuss the cyclical nature of habits. As our habits continue, they're reinforced in a sort of feedback loop. This starts with the cue, the action or stimulus that triggers the habit. Followed by the cue is the craving, the subconscious trigger that leads us to perform the habit. Next is the response, the performing of the habit itself. And finally is the reward, the reason that we keep coming back to the habit. This cycle is true for both good and bad habits. On the bad side, someone who smokes may get a cue to have a cigarette, which leads to a craving, which leads to them performing the action of smoking, which then releases dopamine in the brain, perpetuating the cycle. On the good side, someone who's trying to drink more water may see their water bottle on their desk, which leads to their mouth feeling dry, which leads to them taking a sip, which relieves their dry mouth, rewarding and perpetuating the cycle. Understanding the habit cycle is important because it gives us an area of focus to help us when implementing new habits. Let's use the example again of drinking more water. Someone who's struggling to implement this habit can do a few things to help trigger the habit cycle. They could focus on a more consistent cue, like keeping a bottle of water on their desk instead of trying to remember to get up and go to the water fountain. They could also focus on implementing a better reward. Maybe after every bottle of water they finish, they reward themselves with a mint, or maybe make the water itself more rewarding by using a flavoring packet to make taking a sip more enjoyable. There are many ways to do this. The most important thing is just to make sure that it works for you. Now that we've looked at the habit cycle as well as how to use it to your advantage when implementing new habits, let's look at some more ways to better implement and stick with new habits. The first tip I have here is to start small and specific. Oftentimes, when we set a new goal or start a new habit, we tend to go very big and vague with things like, I want to lose 20 pounds or I want to work out every day. While there's certainly nothing wrong with being ambitious, we're much more likely to stick with new habits when we start small and specific. In these scenarios, we could instead say, I want to lose 1 pound in 2 weeks, or I want to start exercising for 10 minutes every day after work. The next tip for building better habits is to utilize triggers and anchor habits. As mentioned in our discussion about the habit cycle, we can use triggers or cues to remind ourselves or trigger our new habits. Using a trigger would be doing the dishes every time you walk past the sink. So when you perform the action of walking past the sink, your brain knows that it's time to do the dishes. Using an anchor habit would be tying a new habit to an already existing one. If you do the dishes every time you walk past the sink, start drinking a glass of water as you do the dishes. This anchors the new habit to the already existing one, making it much easier to solidify it as part of your routine. The next tip is to track your progress. While it may seem small, tracking your progress with a new habit can be very rewarding. Whether it's with a checklist or with an app, just make sure you're using a method that works well and is convenient for you. Speaking of convenience, be intentional with your environment to make new habits more convenient. If you want to start exercising more, lay out your workout clothes by the bed so that you're ready for a morning walk as soon as you wake up. Place your dumbbells on a table near the hallway so that every time you walk past, it's easy to pick them up and do 10 reps of an exercise. There's many ways that you can modify the space around you in order to increase the frequency of cues and thus the amount of time that you're performing the new habit. Another tip is to be consistent, but also stay flexible. While consistency is key with habits, slip ups here and there are very natural. Many people will be doing great with their new habits, but will stop doing them if they miss a day because they feel that they screwed up their progress. Avoid this all or nothing mindset and do your best to remind yourself that nobody is perfect. I like to use the 2 day rule to avoid this mindset, which says that you can miss a habit one day, but avoid missing 2 days in a row. This not only keeps you in a flexible mindset for when you slip up here and there, but also serves as a great motivator to keep going when you need it the most. Finally, the last tip I'd like to share is to try and be 1% better every day. While most of us would love to make big leaps of progress, the truth is that habit change is all about small, consistent steps. Focusing on being 1% better every day keeps you in the rhythm of your habit, making you much more likely to stick with it for longer. We've talked at length about what to do when implementing new habits, so I'd like to cover a few things to avoid as well. First of all, be aware of burnout. It's easy to become worn down when we try to change too much at once, so focus on small changes over time instead. Second, avoid the all or nothing mindset. Remember that it's natural to slip up here and there, and use the 2 day rule to help get yourself back on track when you do have the occasional off day. Third, don't set vague goals. The more clear you are with your goals, the easier it will be to develop a concrete method of completing and repeating a habit. Finally, focus on identity, not outcomes. When thinking of new goals, we often focus on outcomes like weight loss or strength improvements. While outcomes are important so that we have a clear goal, I also want to challenge you to focus on identity. The person who says to themselves, I am someone who prioritizes health and physical activity, so I'm going to walk a mile every day, is much more likely to stick with daily exercise than the person who just says, I want to be more fit, so I'm going to exercise every day. Finally, I want to end off today's discussion with a little challenge for you. I want you to pick one new habit that you can start working on today and do 3 things. First, I want you to tie it to an already existing habit. Second, I want you to make one change to your environment to support this new habit. And third, I want you to try and be consistent with it for 7 days. If you decide to take on this challenge, which I hope you do, share your progress with your friends, your family, and even your trainer as well. You may find that a little support from others is enough of a reward to keep the habit cycle going even beyond just 7 days. Thank you for joining our conversation today on effective habit building. I hope the information has brought you clarity, comfort, and encouragement. Your health and well being are always what matter most, so keep taking care of yourself and holding on to hope. Thanks for tuning in. Now, let's transition into some gentle movement. Today's routine is a sample from our Mapletree On Demand library, available on the Mapletree Cancer Alliance app. Subscribe monthly or yearly to access safe, empowering exercise videos for every stage of the cancer journey. Ready to join? Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen.
Hi everyone, I'm Morgan, your Mapletree Exercise Oncology Instructor. This is the 3rd week of our exercise program for lymphedema prevention. This week we will begin with standing and stretching, and then we will incorporate body weight resistance exercises, which can be helpful in moving lymph fluid and reducing our symptoms. Then we will have a seated cool down with some stretching. If you are currently experiencing lymphedema, please monitor how you are feeling during and after the workout. If there is no increase in symptoms, then continue and slowly progress your weight or reps. This week, we will need a wall and a chair for our workout. The following exercises are meant to be pain-free. If you experience any pain during these movements, please stop and skip that movement or stay in a pain-free range of motion. If your physician has recommended wearing a compression garment, it is recommended that it is worn during this program. All right, guys, we are going to start with our warm-up. We're going to do a set of 10 through all of the movements that we have in our warm-up, and we're going to start off with our sunrise salute. So we're going to put our hands together, and we're going to reach up overhead, extending, and then coming back to center. And we are going to do this 10 times, stretching up, looking up at the ceiling, and breathing through our movements, getting that good stretch, and coming back to center. We're on number 5, and 6, 7. And if you feel like you need to sit for this, that's perfectly fine. We have 2 more. 9 and 10. All right, we're going to take those hands and we are going to clasp them, push them in front, and we're going to round those shoulders, extending that spine, getting that good stretch. Again, if you need to sit during these stretches, that is perfectly fine. That's a great option. We can still do these. And we're on number 4. You can even take your hands and put them together and extend, getting some wrist flexion in there. All right, and we have 3, 2, and 1. All right, for our next one, we're gonna do some reverse high fives. So I'm gonna turn to the side so you can see, but we're gonna extend our arms backwards and we're going to lift them up and down. And so we're gonna do 20 of these since these are a nice short movement. Lifting those arms up, getting that extension to the back, and we are standing up nice and straight. Again, if you need to sit down during these stretches, that is perfectly fine. And we have about 10 more. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, and then I'm going to turn forward. We're gonna extend our arms out to the side. If you aren't able to get your arms all the way up to your shoulder height, going out to the side as far as you can go is perfectly fine. And we're going to rotate our wrists and our forearms. So we're gonna start off with our palms up and then rotating down to the floor. And up, and we're gonna do a set of 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, we are going to let our arms rest, shake it out a little bit, and then we're gonna go back out to the side. We're gonna make a fist, and we're just gonna do some nice wrist circles. So we're gonna rotate to the back, and we're gonna do a set of 10. We are on 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then we're gonna go forwards and rotate our wrists forwards. And 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then we're gonna do our butterfly. So again, if you need to be sitting, that's perfectly fine. We wanna put our arms up on our head and we're going to close our wings in front of our face and then extend and look up at the ceiling. And we can breathe in as we close and exhale as we open. If you aren't able to get your arms up by your head, putting your hands on your hips and doing the same action is perfectly fine. So we're gonna do a set of 10, and we're at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then we are on our last warm-up set. We're gonna take our arms out to the side, nice and wide. Again, if you aren't able to get your arms up all the way towards your shoulder or toward your head, as long as we are extending up and have that wide stance, that's perfectly fine. Our action is gonna be up to the side and down. So wide overhead press. We're gonna do a set of 10. We're on 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right. I know that makes my shoulders tired, so go ahead, shake it out. You can do some shoulder rolls, let those shoulders recover, and we are gonna move on to our workout. So we need a wall for our workout portion, and we are going to start off with some cat-cows on the wall. We are going to do 2 sets of 10. And so what that's going to look like is you're going to come over to your wall, or if you have a bar, we are going to back up so that our arms are straight, and we are going to arch into the wall and then hollow away from the wall. And so we are going to exhale as we arch, and then inhale as we hollow. We are in number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't forget to really squeeze those shoulders when you're in that arch, and rounding our back as we're in that hollow. And number 9 and 10. All right, we're gonna take a quick little walk around so that we're still moving, but giving us a little break and some rest in between each set. So if you wanna go ahead and march in place a little bit just to keep it moving, or you can just walk around in the space that you have. So now that we've rested a little bit, we're gonna go on to our second set. So we're going back to our wall, arms straight. We are backing up from the wall, and we're going to arch, squeezing our shoulder blades together, and then pushing out into that hollow. And we have a set of 10. So we are on number 2, 3, 4, and 5. This also can be done seated. So if we were to do it seated, we would be putting our hands on our knees and doing our same action with our back. All right, and we have one more. So arch, squeezing those shoulder blades and pushing back into that hollow. All right, so we've done 2 sets of 10 of our cat-cows on our wall. Our next warm-up, or our next workout movement is gonna be our wall push-ups plus a fist squeeze. So this one is a little bit easier on the wall with that extra fist squeeze, but today I'm gonna use the bar. And so again, we're gonna have those arms nice and straight, and depending on your level of strength and how difficult you want this to be, the closer your feet are to the wall and the more upright you are, the easier it's going to be. And the farther out our feet are in that incline, you can even go up on your toes, the harder it is gonna be for our push-ups. So when we do our push-ups, we want to keep our elbows at a nice 45. So we don't want those elbows up, and we don't want them pinned down at our side. We want them right in the middle, and we want a nice tight core. We're gonna do 2 sets of 10, and each time after we do our push-up, we're gonna do a nice fist squeeze to keep that fluid moving, okay? So we're gonna go in our plank. I'm gonna go up on my toes just a little bit to get that good incline. And so we're gonna come down, get that chest to the wall or the bar, and push. And then we're gonna add our fist squeeze, back down into our push-up, and fist squeeze. And we have 8 left. And keep that core nice and tight. If you need to break this up into 2 sets of 5 and kind of let's shake those arms out, that's perfectly fine. And we have 5 left. 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so again, we're just gonna take a quick minute in between our sets so that we can let our muscles recover and let all that fluid get back in there to regain the blood supply and let that fluid get out so that we are feeling good and moving around. Okay, so you can do some marching in place, you can go walking in place, whichever, but we want to keep it moving as we take our rest. All right, we have one more set of 10 of our wall push-ups. So again, the closer to the wall you are, the easier it's gonna be. And so we want those elbows nice in that 45 coming down, and push with those shoulders, squeeze our hands, and squeeze. Number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we have one more, and 10. All right, we're gonna move on to our third movement, and what that is gonna be is a wall plank plus a shoulder tap. And so very similar to what we just did, but instead of doing a push-up, we are alternating shoulders. So we're not touching the same shoulder, we are touching the opposite. So we're gonna be in that plank, and again, the farther away you are, the harder it's gonna be, and the closer you are, the easier it is. For this, I want your feet in a nice wide base so that you have a good stable core. And I'm gonna be up on my toes, but we can have flat feet. And so we're gonna be in that nice plank, and we're gonna touch our shoulder, and we're gonna do a set of 10. So having that nice wide base prevents me from having to wiggle, and it keeps us nice and tight. All right, and 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, if you feel like you need to make this a little bit harder, you can find a chair, or you can even do these on the ground. And so again, we're just gonna take some rest in between our sets. We can do some marching, keeping everything moving. We can do some arm circles while we rest and breathe and let everything regulate back to normal. So back on that second set of 10 in that nice plank with that wide feet, wide base, nice stable core in our hollow position. And we're gonna touch opposite shoulder. And 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, great job, guys. We have one more movement for our workout, and it is an overhead press against a wall. So we're gonna be up against a wall, and our arms are gonna be in that 90 degree, and we're just going to raise our arms, keeping our arms nice and close to that wall. If this is not an option for you, you can step away from the wall, and we can just reach as high as we can with that overhead press, okay? So if you wanna make it even more difficult, you can go into kind of a little bit of a squat and have those arms up against the wall and press overhead. So we're holding a squat and having the arms. Today, I'm going to just stand up against the wall, and we want those feet nice and close to the wall so that we're not in a big arch, and we want that nice tight core, bringing those ribs down to those hips. So we have a set of 10, and we're gonna go through it twice. So having those arms up against the wall, reaching up and down, up and down, keeping that active core. If you weren't able to have your arms up against the wall the whole time, that's perfectly fine. We want you to move in that pain-free range of motion. And 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so we can add in some of those arm circles while we come down and take that rest. Just keep it moving in between. And take some deep belly breaths in and out, breathing through. And we're gonna do our second set of 10. So back up against that wall, reaching up overhead, extending, and we have a set of 10. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, that is it for our workout portion. So we're gonna grab our chair, bring it on over, and we are going to do our seated cool down. So take a seat. If you need to get a drink of water, now is a good time to do it. And so we are gonna go through our cool down, taking nice big belly breaths, and we're gonna work on those shoulders and our neck and our rotations, trying to get that center of gravity moving and getting all that fluid moving. So we're gonna start off with our seated shoulder shrug. And so our hands are gonna be on our legs, and we're just gonna have those shoulders come up to our ears, and then we're gonna push them down like we have really good posture. And so we're gonna do a set of 10. So we're gonna go up and down, and we can breathe through this, breathing in and out, in and out. We're on number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're gonna stick with our shoulders, and we are going to do some shoulder rolls. So we're gonna squeeze those shoulders together in the front, bring them up to our ears, rotate them down in the back, squeezing those shoulder blades together, and then circling through. And so again, we can breathe through, breathing in when we shrug up, and when we rotate down, we can exhale. So we're gonna do a set of 10. And so we're gonna start up and around. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, we're gonna move on to our neck. And so we're gonna start off with our neck turns. We're gonna do a set of 10, and we're gonna do 5 on each side. So we're gonna rotate over as far as we can towards that shoulder, and then back to center, other shoulder, and back to center, and try to breathe through these movements. And we are on 3, 4, and 5. All right, we are going to do our neck tilts. So instead of rotating our head, we are going to put our ear to our shoulder. We're gonna do 5 on each side. We're on 2, 2, 3, 3. You can add in a little extra chin stretch if you want. We're on 4 and 5. All right, last thing for today, we are gonna do some trunk rotations. So we can either put our hand on our head and have our arm on our same leg and push into that rotation, stretching out that spine, or we can have our opposite arm on our opposite leg, using that chair for a little bit of assistance and rotating, pushing into that knee and rotating that spine. My preferred method is the opposite arm, opposite leg, getting that extra help from that chair. And we're gonna do this 10 times. So this is number 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and we got one more, and 10. All right, that is it for today. Thanks for joining me in week 3.